All right. Hello and welcome to the first episode of Around the Horns. My name is Aaron Little and I'm here with my co-host. So you may know him from the Orange Blood message boards as Austin Horn 1. He changed his name, so you can now find him on there and also on Twitter under the name Zach at the Dish. He is my co-host. He is Zach Symm. Zach, did I miss anything there? You want to give everyone your birthday, your 60 times, social security, anything like that?
No, man, it's great to be here and happy to podcasting and on the tube with y'all talking Texas baseball. There's plenty of topics to discover, and we love Texas baseball, so that's why we're here.
Yeah, so we're both new covering it for Orange Bloods. We're going to be plan is to be coming at you guys on YouTube every single week with the show. We're going to be talking recaps. We're going to be talking previews. We're going to be giving out our most fun players to watch. Might be giving some updates on Ivan Melendez home run counts as the year goes on. So that's kind of going to be the plan going forward. And yeah, we're excited to get that started. So with that being said, Zach, it was a long off season. We were ready to watch Texas play some baseball. We were ready to cover them. Number one team in the country, a lot of expectations. We watched a lot of baseball this weekend from the nice press box there at the University of Texas. What was a major takeaway or a few major takeaways you had as Texas, kind of smoked rice this weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. First, it was great to see the boys back on the field and not an inner squad. I think they were super hyped, and Hansen came out and just set the tone Friday night. He was just mowing guys down, and he was pretty unhittable. It was great seeing Austin Todd out in the outfield. That's 6 years in a row. That's got to be some kind of NCAA record for a guy to start 6 years in a row. I mean, he's been there since Pierce first showed up. So pretty cool to see him back and healthy. Trey started a little slow, but he started tearing it up. Same thing with Ivan, a couple of walks, a couple of strikeouts. And next thing you know, he's hitting 1,000 feet worth of home runs over the batter's eye. And then kind of the surprise of the weekend was Murph, just being the ultimate utility guy, infield, outfield, making it rain with some doubles. So that was great to see.
Yeah, I loved all of that. I mean, you talked about Pete Hansen. The one thing that really impressed me was just being able to work to the inside half of the plate, especially to right-handed hitters. Sometimes with those soft tossing lefties, not that Pete's too soft tossing, but you can get those right-handed hitters that really key in on the outside half of the plate and they can start peppering balls to right field. Hansen doesn't let you do that because he works so well to the inside half. He keeps you off balance with all his off-speed pitches. And then, you kind of glossed over the main point there with Trey Faltini, and that is that you picked him on the preview as the team MVP this year. So don't be afraid to give yourself a little pat on the back. That was a good call by you. We got a lot of games left. My prediction, Mitchell Daly, solid weekend as usual for him, but nothing crazy. So we'll have to track that on the show as the year goes on. And then, yeah, Murphy Staley, I wrote about him on Orange Bloods on my weekend recap. He was super impressive. He was using all sides of the field. Some of my main takeaways is it's going to be a bad year to be an Owl, pretty much in every single way. They were not good. 34 walks this weekend by the pitching staff. At one point they had used 4 pitchers while Texas had just used Tristan Stevens on Saturday. So it's going to be really bad for them. They had bad defense. Catcher and third base were really, really tough for them all weekend. And then Tristan Stevens, we heard him talk about it in the post game on Saturday. He said the team look for them to be able to win in multiple ways. And that was something that really stood out for me. We know they're really good on defense. We might talk about Ivan a little bit, what we saw from him defensively playing first base for the first time. Faltini was awesome. The whole outfield looked really good. We saw that amazing relay play from Hodo and Mitchell Daly in that game there. So yeah, I mean, the pitching's awesome. The hitting, I think they can beat you with speed. They can beat you with power. We saw them draw a lot of walks this weekend. So those were kind of my main takeaways. Texas is going to win a lot of games this year. And I think, a lot of their wins are going to come in different ways. If you kind of agree with me there, do you agree with that there's just a lot of ways this team can come at you?
I think one of the big questions that everyone had coming into the season was they lost the production of Antico at the top of the lineup. They lost Zuby in the heart of the lineup. And then Cam he was always in the middle or back end of the lineup where he provided that power. Who's going to get on base? Who's going to steal base? What was Antico 40 for 48 last year? I mean, he was a monster. Just every single time he was on, he was moving on over. And really, if you think about Texas baseball in 2021, they didn't get started offensively until Antico kind of settled in, being a transfer to the program and kind of get into his groove. And so, seeing Hodo get on base, seeing EK get on base, he had a triple, he had a double, he had a bunt single. Like EK, I think, is built for a big year. He's going to be that engine. He's going to make the train go.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to hit on EK there because I thought it's really important. There were a couple of comments about people being surprised about him batting at the top of the order. I think a main reason for that, like we both already hit on, is the speed. He was flying around the bases all weekend, able to drop down bunts, steal a couple bases. And then just the fact that he's left-handed, this is a pretty right-handed heavy Texas offense. So being able to have that lefty at the top of the order, maybe making it a little more difficult for teams later in games to play the righty-lefty matchup game. I think that's a big reason why we're seeing him in that 2-hole. And, I think he'll stay there until, something crazy happens. But he looked great this weekend. He handled left-handed pitching pretty well. Not that any of the pitchers we saw from Rice this weekend were exactly Arkansas, Mississippi State, Oklahoma State, none of that. So we'll get a better read on that, maybe a little bit against Alabama, and then especially when they go to Houston in a couple of weeks. But that'll be fun. So Zach, I'm going to hit you with this. We saw a lot of things this weekend. It was our first time covering Texas baseball from a media perspective. We watched every pitch of every game. I want to give out a fun to watch award. Zach, what were some things, or kind of one main player, some main takeaways? What was just fun to watch for you this past weekend?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind is Hodo playing center field. He hasn't played there since high school. I mean, it's been a while. He defensively had a relay throw to Daly and then to Silas to catch the runner at home. That defensively changed the entire game. There was 3 different runs or 3 different situations where Rice had guys that were moving on the bases, and they were throwing the brakes up at third base. They were not going to challenge his arm or even the outfield arm in general. And so, Texas gave up 3 runs total. They could have easily doubled that alone if he had not made that play. So that was super impressive, because Todd played there last year until his injury, and then Antico slid in. So it was great seeing him be super comfortable, other than that one that Pierce said he probably wished he had back. He kind of booted the palm of his glove. The second thing was Ivan's footwork and athleticism. I thought he played really well in the hole. He's a little more nimble than Zubia. He handled a throw to second base really well. I was a bit concerned about those throws because they're not easy. And then lastly, getting to sit there and watch the TrackMan analytics at some of the Big 12 umps is just, it's always glorious to see how bad they are. So.
All right, I'm going to push back a little bit. I think I'm starting to get a little more insight on what kind of baseball fan you are. So this was the Fun to Watch award, and you're going to sit here and tell me that it was more fun to watch Ivan's footwork around first base as opposed to him hitting 2 balls over 450 feet on Sunday. I'm not giving you crap for it. I think that shows, how astute of a baseball fan you are. But
listen,
you're gonna stand by that.
I've learned and lived through some very lean years on Texas hitting, where we had Augie Garrido, we had Cliff. Ivan's the first person to hit it over the batter's eye 3 times.
Yes, first one.
Last person I remember doing that's Cameron Rupp. Drew Stubbs has done it. Ontiveros has done it. So there's not many guys that are hitting over the batter's eye. So, yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, so I just realized that I kind of gave you a little too much crap, because my first Fun to Watch award for me, it was watching Tristan Stevens, but not really watching the pitches he threw. It was more about his pace of play. He was working really quickly. He was in a rhythm. He was throwing like a pitch every 4 seconds, which I'll get to a little more in a little bit later. More than that, he was just he was such a savvy veteran. We know he's been in this program for 5 years now. Countless PFPs. We talked about Ivan doing well over there. He had a lot of PFPs, 3-1 putouts, where Tristan did a good job getting over, covering the base. He had a nice play on a bunt. He had that really long inning. Texas had like a 40-minute inning on offense where Rice was just walking the entire ballpark. I asked him after the game, what did you do to stay loose? He was savvy enough to grab the pitching coach and play catch down there in the clubhouse in the tunnel to stay loose. So I really enjoyed watching him control the game from a complete pitching perspective. And then runner up for me also correlated Tristan Stevens, sitting there watching Zach update the game day thread pitch by pitch. he was speed typing like nothing I've pretty much ever seen. And he had to, because as we mentioned, Tristan Stevens was pouring in pitches about once every 4 seconds. So yeah, Zach, what was that like for you? Just having to relentlessly update that thread while Tristan was just cooking out there on the mound.
Yeah, he makes it tough on a rider, I tell you what. And then I think the even tougher time outside of writing was the analytics team who sits right next to us. Those guys were at a complete loss. Like they were like around and trying to figure out, okay, what was that pitch? Did we get that one? Like, I know for a fact they missed at least 4 or 5 of his pitches on the weekend. So yeah, Tristan, he knows how to work the game and control it. And what was really surprising is that despite Jose Cruz's acumen and time in the MLB, he never went out there and told his hitters like, dude, step off, break up his rhythm. None of that. It was just ball, like just straight in there. So
yeah, the only time he slowed down was once when like he threw 2 or 3 balls in a row. He, another veteran move. He had the wherewithal himself to kind of step off. He took his hat off, took a deep breath, and then got right back up on the mound and was able to find his rhythm. So yeah, those were some things that were really fun to watch this weekend. There's going to be a lot of fun things to watch throughout the year with this Texas team. So Zach, what I want to do next is I want to quickly hit on this 2-game series with Texas A&M Corpus Christi. And then I know some of our, viewers are going to just be yelling about Alabama, talk about Alabama. So we're going to hit on Corpus Christi real quick. And then we promised a little bit of Alabama talk coming up. So Zach, here's what we got. We've got a quick midweek series, little 2-game series between the Longhorns and Texas A&M Corpus Christi. So tonight we have got Andre Duplantier pitching against Hayden Thomas. He's a local kid. He went to Rouse High School. And then tomorrow we've got Lucas Gordon versus Colin Purcell. Yeah, tell me a little bit about maybe those pitching matchups and then some things you're really looking to see out of this Texas team in this quick 2-game series.
For sure. Well, first off, I have to say one thing. I miss Itchy Burks. He was the first team all-name dude on A&M Corpus squad last year and for the last couple of years. Like that dude, he was actually he was the best player on their team. Like I bet they miss him as well. But just getting to say Itchy Burks in the middle of the game and listening to the announcers just be so uncomfortable about it was always great.
Also, quick shout out to the Rice reliever this weekend with the last name Cienfuegos. That is also an all first team name. So yeah, we've got Itchy Burks and we've got Cienfuegos. So yeah, maybe we'll have to keep track of that as the year goes on.
For sure. But no, so A&M Corpus's strength, it's going to be their pitching. And I'm not saying that in the Texas strength is pitching, but
yeah,
they don't have power hitting. I think they maxed out at seven hits on all 3 of their games over the weekend against whoever they were playing now. So they're not going to have the horses to make an impact. Texas would have to have just completely collapse in the pitching perspective to, give them the opportunity. Hayden Thomas is a guy that pitched against Texas last year. He did all right. They've got a couple of guys that have pitched against Texas over the past year that, I think JT Moeller has pitched against them. Jaime Rodriguez, who we probably see, he's pitched against him. And so it'd be interesting to see how Texas, how they handle. It's just gonna be straight fastballs. You're not gonna see a lot of the breaking balls or the elite curves. So can those guys get going? And then for me, the biggest thing is how does Dre handle starting? Because it's completely different than what his role has been historically. How far do they let him extend? Can he control his emotions? And then Lucas just needs to be more efficient. Lucas actually played against A&M Corpus last year, gave up he had 23 pitches, 1 inning, 2 earned runs, a walk, and 2 strikeouts. So just seeing Lucas just be more efficient and kind of attack, trust the stuff from the left-hand side. I think that's really going to eat up the Corpus team. So.
Yeah, I like all those points there. I looked it up while you were talking. They took 2 out of 3 from UT Arlington this past weekend. So yeah, so they're heading in here 2-1. It's going to be a little bit of a step up in competition for them the next couple of days. One thing that I kind of want to see, we're going to see Josh Stewart at some point this over these 2 games against A&M Corpus. I want to see how he bounces back. He was maybe the one reliever that got touched up just a little bit by Rice. They kind of squared 2 balls. They hit 2 balls in the gap on him, both fastballs that kind of just leaked over the plate. I want to see him work in. He's got a really devastating slider. I want to see him work that in a little more early in the count, maybe. I'm just interested to see what his role is this weekend, how Coach Pierce and the rest of the coaching staff in what situation he comes in, how many innings does he go? Because he's still a guy that I think can play a pretty big part in this team this year. So I want to see what he does. And then, yeah, besides that, I want to see if Melendez stays hot. I know Alabama, they were probably getting kind of excited. They saw him slumping on Friday and Saturday, like, oh, maybe he'll just stay cold, next weekend. He can stay cold for one more weekend. And then Sunday just completely broke out of his very mini slump, if you can even call it a slump. So I want to see if he stays hot and then, just puts the fear into Alabama a little bit more. But yeah, unless you got anything else on Corpus, I think I'm ready to talk some weekend series preview here.
Let's do it.
All right. So yeah, we've got, as we mentioned, Alabama is coming in to Austin. This will be the baseball team. Obviously we have the football team coming to Austin. That'll be a whole different story. And, if you're going to ask me for predictions, those predictions might go in a different way, but as for this baseball show, so Alabama, they're, as you note, Zach, they're a veteran team, but they're picked to finish last in the SEC West. So yeah, tell me a little bit about this Alabama team and what we might see from them.
Yeah, Alabama, they returned a super solid core of defenders in the infield. That's their big strength outside of some pitching experience. The one massive piece that Alabama is missing this year is left-handed pitcher Connor Prelip. That guy's going to be a top round draft pick, even though, he's still recovering from TJ, which he unfortunately suffered late last year. I think it was May of 2021. So he's sitting out this year. So that would have been really fun to see him because he's got a bright future ahead of him. But, first thing is we're not going to see the same silly mistakes that we saw from Rice. So Bama's going to be solid. Their catcher is a transfer from Arkansas, Dominic. He hits for power. He's going to be a draftable guy here in another year or two. And the kid I'm really excited to see is actually their Sunday starter, Grayson Hitt. I would thought he would have been a little bit higher up in the order, but he's also a young kid. But everyone that you talk to says he's a future star for Bama, so that's cool. From another pitching perspective, it'd be cool to see Ben Hess. He's a big 6'5" right-handed, just flamethrower. He throws hard. I haven't seen him pitch yet this year. He didn't pitch against Xavier, who Bama swept, but you got to expect that he'll probably see an outing or, at least an inning or two. And then I mentioned Dominic for a hitting side, but you also got to take a look at William Hameter and Zane Denton and Owen Diodati. Those are their, the hitters to watch out for. The rest of their lineup is pretty average, which is one of the reasons that they're kind of picked to finish last in the SEC West in the lower half of the SEC in general. So.
Yeah, no, that all makes a lot of sense. I mean, it will be interesting to see how both teams handle a step up in competition from what they saw on opening weekend. One thing I'm really going to be looking for is I want to see if the Texas starting rotation can be as dominant as they were against Rice. Obviously, it's going to be really tough. They gave up a combined 1 earned run in 17 innings of work this weekend. The only run coming on an ambush Tanner Witt fastball that was hit over the fence in the first inning that kind of got caught up in the wind. I don't know if that goes out on a normal day. It's going to be a little cold this weekend at the Dish, so might not be going out this weekend. But when you talk about Witt specifically, I actually went back and watched his start again yesterday from the TV broadcast, see if I could a little bit of a better angle. His fastball command was okay at times, but when he missed over the plate, Rice made him pay a lot. And there were even some pitches where he missed over the middle of the plate and Rice didn't really make him pay. As you get deeper into the year and hitters start to get their timing down, you have less room for error as a pitcher, especially with that fastball. So I want to see him get to the corner a little bit more often. That's something I'm going to be looking for a lot this weekend. And then besides that, I want to see Pete Hansen, if he's able to dominate again. I want to see if the guys out of the bullpen, like we saw Dre, we'll see Dre pitch in the midweek. He looked really good out of the bullpen. You've got noted we might get to see Zane Morehouse. Travis Staley looked really good out of the bullpen. I want to see him again. He was pouring in almost exclusively fastballs. I want to see if he can kind of get away with doing that against a little bit of a better team. That'll be something interesting for me to see. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things to look for. I'm going to put you on the spot here, and then I'll chime in afterwards. What's your prediction for the weekend? How do you see the series kind of shaking out against Bama?
Yeah, I think Texas sweeps. I don't think Bama has the horses all the way around to steal a series from Texas. Do they have the ability to steal a game? Absolutely. I mean, it's baseball. Anything can happen. But I think Texas will sweep. I think Nixon will probably be needed at least once and not just as a okay, you haven't pitched all weekend, like go throw you an inning just to get you out there. He'll be in a save situation on I think it'll be Sunday. I think Grayson Hitt and Tanner Wood will be a great matchup. So yeah,
I'm really looking forward to that one. I also am going to go sweep here. I think it's going to be nothing like last weekend where we saw Texas just completely kind of obliterate Rice in all 3 games. I think the middle of the Texas order is going to have a big weekend. The bottom of the lineup really stood out this past weekend. We mentioned Murph. Faltini had a huge weekend. I think Mitchell Daly gets going a little bit. Not that he had a bad weekend, but I think Ivan will probably stay hot. I think EK is going to keep hitting the ball well. And then I think we might see Austin Todd display a little bit of that power that we know he has. So I'm going to be keening on the middle of the Texas lineup. I want to see the pitchers. I really want to see Tanner Witt in that matchup on Sunday. I think that'll be a lot of fun. So yeah, we're both going to go sweep. Might not be as dominant as it was against Rice, but that's no issue. It's baseball. It's a long season, a close game here or there, even the occasional losses, nothing to panic about. So Zach, you have any other thoughts about what we saw on this past opening weekend, maybe about some Big 12 teams? I know we saw Oklahoma State take 2 out of 3 at Vanderbilt. We saw some other good games in general. Mississippi State lost a series at home to Long Beach State. Any details from those games you want to hit on, or anything else in general that are some big takeaways for some other important teams around the country?
Yeah, so I think we start at the top of the matchups there, the Oklahoma State versus Vanderbilt. Awesome series. I actually rewatched a lot of it today and yesterday. What's surprising was Justin Campbell, who's going to be drafted very high in the major league, probably first rounder. He got outpitched a little bit on Friday by the duo from Vanderbilt, which is surprising. But it was a close game. But the fact that Oklahoma State bounced back and were able to take 2 of 3 from Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt, that doesn't happen very often. I think I saw a stat that was like the first team in a couple of seasons that's stolen a series from Vandy in Nashville. Mississippi State, Landon Sims was unhittable for 6 innings, 7 innings. The problem,
I got to watch that. I think
Yeah.
they got that solo in the 7th inning off of him. But I mean, besides that one pitch, he was dominating. So any questions about him moving from the bullpen to the rotation? I think those are pretty much out the window.
That guy's spin and the way the breaking ball just disappear. I mean, you're in front of it and it's gone. The problem with Mississippi State is they are lacking. They have a giant Landon Sims size hole in their bullpen right now.
Yep.
They don't have the back end guy to go in and do it. And the guy that came in for Landon Sims afterwards immediately gave up a 2-run home run. So that was ball game. Long Beach State, they played gritty, they played tough. They kind of did what Texas had to do in the College World Series. They had to outlast Landon Sims. Now the fact that they lost another one the next day was pretty surprising. I think they were a little shell shocked, to be honest. But Sunday they did what a good team does. They came out and absolutely dominated Long Beach. TC looked really good. Brandon Taylor, that guy's gonna be a monster this year. Oklahoma's pitching, maybe Skip finally has his team where he wants it. That they missed a giant opportunity in 2020 when they had the entire rotation was drafted in the pretty high level major league draft. And then, West Virginia, surprisingly, they put up a lot of runs. So I think they're going to be an offensive team. Pitching is going to be a big question mark for those guys. They've got the closer, but they don't have the horses in the weekend rotation to take them very far. So it'll be fun to watch him hit. Austin Davis, he's a superstar. So
it'll all be fun to track. There'll be more great games this weekend. So we encourage everyone to check out as many teams as possible. It'll just make the whole viewing experience more enjoyable. That'll pretty much do it for us here on this first ever show on Around the Horn. So you can find us on Twitter. I'm on @AaronLittleOB. Zach, you can go ahead and give out your Twitter real quick.
Yeah, on Twitter, I'm at Zach at the Dish. So, pretty easy to find. But yeah, check us out. Follow along. Log into Orange Bloods. We'll be doing play-by-play, and we'll be giving some color. We'll do weekend previews, weekend recaps. Aaron's got a great writing style for those recaps. So check it out.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, so obviously, if you're watching this, you're on the YouTube channel right now. So please like the video, subscribe, leave some comments. You can comment about what was your most fun thing you saw from Texas this past weekend, some other things from around the country. Some stuff you might want us to work into this show. We'll be reading through all those comments, any segments or format changes that you guys might like to see. But yeah, besides that, that's going to do it for this first episode of Around the Horns. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we'll be back next week with some reaction to the Bama series and to preview everything else upcoming.